This video is part of a series of SSIS tutorial videos created by COZYROC. In this video, I will show you how to configure a package that uses the Union Alt transformation with inputs from multiple types of sources. So I'm going to use three different inputs for this Union All demonstration. And this is the first one. It's in a SQL Server table. And here you can see it has 6 columns and it has 24 rows. And there you can see where we're going to write the output from the Union All to this combined gaming data table. And there you can see how all the columns are defined, which is all Unicode string for the data type. Here's the second input, and this is in an Excel file. Again, the same 6 columns here, and this has 16 rows in it. We'll close that. And then the final or third input is in a CSV file. Again, it has the same 6 columns, and this has 21 rows. So the total of all the rows that will come out of the Union All will be 61. So here we are in Visual Studio. Start by dragging the Dataflow task out here and double click on it. Now we're in the Dataflow canvas and we'll go find the OLE DB Source first. And this will be for the South Elgin data. And I'll double click on the component and I need to set up a connection manager, so I click on New. And then we'll find the right one. It's 2024 tutorials, and I click OK. And now we're back in the source editor, and I'll choose the name of the table, which is South Elgin Gaming. And I'll close the source component editor. And then we'll use the Excel file will be our second input. So I drag the Excel source out here, and this contains our Wooddale data, and I'll double click on this component to open the editor. Need to set up a connection manager, so I click on New, and I'll go browse and find the Excel file, and it's in the Excel source files here, and it's Wooddale Gaming with 6 columns. And then I'll click on OK to close the connection manager, and now we'll choose the name of the sheet from the Excel file, and that's Gaming Revenue. And I'll close the source component editor. And now for the final or the third input, we're going to use the flat file source, and this is the DeKalb data coming from the CSV file. So I'll set up a connection manager for this. I'll browse to find the CSV file. So that'll be in the CSV source files. And then I need to change this to look for CSV files, and then they show up. So I'll choose the DeKalb Gaming with 6 columns file. And if I click on columns, now it will let me close this editor, and now we're in the flat file source editor, and I'll close that. Stay tuned to see how I complete the configuration of the package and execute it.
Are you tired of updating packages because of changing metadata? How many hours have you spent accommodating new source and destination columns? How many nearly identical packages do you have to maintain? Especially when you need to update hundreds of them. Well, you should check out COZYROC's Dataflow Task Plus component. Dataflow Task Plus provides the ability to acquire the metadata and map the columns at runtime. You can even use transformations on the data. Just add the changes at the source and destination, execute, and Dataflow Task Plus will handle the process of extracting, transforming, and loading the desired columns from the source to the destination without a need to change the existing package. It works with any standard SSIS Dataflow components, transformations, and application adapters. No more manual package updates. Design your SSIS data flows with Dataflow Task Plus and save hundreds of hours. A vision of completely metadata-driven processing is now possible. Download COZYROC's Dataflow Task Plus from COZYROC.com. It's free for testing and development within Visual Studio.
All right, now I'm going to get the Union All transformation, drag that onto the canvas. I'm going to put it down here because I'm going to be sticking something else in between in a few minutes. So the first input that I'm connecting to the Union All is the input from the table. And so that is how the Union All defines its output column metadata, is based on the very first input that you connect to it. So here you can see the input is Unicode string for VGT count, and for the input, and then for the output it's also Unicode string. And that's true of all of the columns actually. They're all defined as Unicode strings. So let me back out of this, and now I'll show you what happens when I connect the Excel file to the Union All. And I'll double click to open this. It hasn't mapped the columns yet to the output, so I'm going to do that. But then you'll see we'll get an error here for VGT count because our metadata doesn't match. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to cancel the Union All setup, and I'll show you something else here now. I'm going to disconnect this arrow, and I'm going to go in and use the advanced editor on the Excel source component. I'll go to input and output properties. I'll expand the Excel source output, expand the external columns and the output columns. And so VGT count was the first column that I need to change the metadata for. And I'll just show you with this one column what happens when we try to do that. So I change it to Unicode string, 250 character length, and then I'll do that for the output also, for the VGT count. And I'm going to close this. I'm not going to bother doing the other two columns because I want to show you what happened there. So I'm going to open up the advanced editor again, go back to the input and output properties, and show you what happened. So the VGT count metadata got changed back to the double precision float, or the R8. So now the output columns did not get changed back, but I'm going to change this back so it matches the external column to the R8. And I haven't changed any of the others, so I'll click OK. Now it's all set up the way it was originally before I tried to make any changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the data conversion transformation. I'm going to use this to convert to WSTR. So we'll take the output from the Excel source component, and we only need to change the last three columns to a different data type. The data type we want is Unicode string. I'm going to make this a little wider for all three of these columns. And oh yes, we want to change the length also to 250 for each of these. And then the output alias will be copy of, and then the column name, the original column name. And I'll click OK to close that. And now I can connect the data conversion to the Union All. And then let's see what's going on with the CSV data here. So I can show you, if we open the advanced editor for the flat file source component and go to the input and output properties and expand this, you can see that this is non-Unicode string for the data type for all of these columns. So I'm going to go ahead and change them in the connection manager, which is where you do it for flat files. So I'm just going to edit the connection manager and go to advanced here. And we're going to change this to the Unicode string for the data type. And then put the output column width to 250. I'm going to do this for the other 5 columns, and I'll be right back. All right, so I just finished changing all of the columns into Unicode string for the data type and 250 character length. And now you can see a little warning pops up on our flat file source. So I'll open that, or I'll double click on it, and here you see the last question there is, do you want to replace the metadata of the output columns with the metadata of the external columns? And I'll say yes, and it'll take care of that for me. All right, so I can close that. And now I'll open up the Union All again, and we'll finish our mapping now that we've got our metadata set up to match. This is input 3 by name, but it is referencing our second input, which was the Excel file. So here I'll choose the right columns. For the first 3 columns, it's got the same name as the output column name. But now we need to use the columns that are coming out of the data conversion transformation. So I use copy of VGT count, and copy of amount played, and copy of amount won. And then for our CSV file, everything just maps up easily because it retained the changes we made to the metadata. All right, now we can close the Union All. And now the only thing left is to write the output into an OLE DB destination, into a table, in other words. And this is called Combined Gaming Data. And now I'll open up the editor, and we choose the name of the table, which is Combined Gaming Data. Now we'll click on Mappings, and everything gets mapped. Click on OK. And now I'll save the package and execute it. And it was successful. So I'll stop debugging, and we'll go over to Management Studio, and we'll take a look at the output in the Combined Gaming Data table. And looks like we got 61 rows, which is the right count. And you can see there all the South Elgin data, the DeKalb data, and the Wooddale data. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to follow us on social media, here's how you can do that.